Hi, my name is Rebecca Lawson, and I'm going to be interviewing Pamela McCarley. She is an English special education teacher here at North Salinas High School and has been teaching for 29 years. As a special education teacher, she works with students who have a wide range of learning disabilities, mental disabilities that can be emotional, physical, all of that, all of the above. And they adapt to general education lessons. They teach videos, subjects. They use differentiated instruction in order to do so. They're on the same lesson plans, the same scope and sequence as the general education teachers. However, they alter their teaching for the special education students. That means in how they teach reading, how they teach writing, how they teach math. Specifically for Pam, it is reading, writing, literature, all of the things that are English. So that includes students with moderate to mild disabilities as well as severe disabilities. They also can teach them basic skills such as literacy and communication. As I discussed with Pam in the video, you might talk to a student in the hallway and not have any idea that they're a special education student. However, when you get them in the classroom, when you see their writing, when you hear them read out loud, you recognize that there is something there that needs to be looked at more in depth, which then gets us into IEPs and 504s, where programs can help these students get into special education and watch their goals, give them objectives, and then look over them after a year is over and see, did we meet these goals, did we meet these objectives? Most special education teachers, like Pam, work in public schools. They can teach preschool, elementary school, middle school, and high school. They include special services, instructions, and many work on a normal 10-month school basis, just like Pam does today. Overall, she does work as a special education teacher. She has her normal periods for freshman students. However, she also deals very in-depth with parents in terms of getting IEPs or 504s for certain students who need them. Okay, I'm sitting here with Pam McCarley, one of the teachers here at North Salinas High School, and I'm going to be interviewing her about her job as a special ed teacher. Hi, Pam. So what is your official title for your occupation?
I'm a special education teacher, but I guess they've changed our title to oh my gosh. I just consider myself a special education teacher. That's what my credential says. So.
Okay, perfect. That's great. How long have you been a teacher?
I have been a special education teacher for 29 years.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a long time. And what made you want to be a special ed teacher as opposed to just a single subject teacher? Or
we have a family friend who is deaf, and I was always fascinated with how he was able to pick up on just cues that were happening, how he just grew up to be just a regular kid, even though he was deaf, and that just interests me. And so I really started out wanting to be a teacher of the deaf, but then it was too difficult to find sign language classes at the time.
Okay.
So I went in with students who had difficulty learning.
Okay, but you enjoyed that?
Yes.
As well. Okay, cool. And what types of disabilities or disorders do you work with or see on a daily basis? And how do you handle students in these categories differently from a regular general education teacher?
Primarily the students that we have are mild to moderate disability, and they're primarily specific learning disabilities. So students that are below in grade level have difficulty with writing, forming sentences, reading comprehension or reading fluency, as well as math application or math calculation.
Okay. But these are normal students that you see walking through the hallways on a normal day. You can have a conversation with them. Interesting. Yes. And then what are any barriers that you see as you teach in terms of culture or linguistics, especially in the area that we're in?
Probably, I wish I could speak Spanish, so that if a student who's an English language learner didn't understand what I was trying to say, I could say it to them in their native language. So that's just something that I wish that I could do. Some of the other difficulties would just be a lot of them just don't see a purpose for learning a lot of what we're trying to teach them. they really don't know what they want to do. A lot of our students in special education don't go on to college. They usually find some type of job right after high school.
Okay, interesting. That's interesting to hear. And then because of talking about language as well, because you do deal with parents often, how do IEPs and 504s play a role in your job? And then how does that involve parents and their kids' academics?
Well, every year a student's IEP has to be updated. We have to look, did they meet their goals and objectives? Meaning, what area of disability do they have? So if it was reading comprehension, did the student improve their reading comprehension at all? And so we would look at how the students are doing in their classes, maybe pull them in for some type of individual non-formal testing, and then conduct the meeting with the parent. If the parent is Spanish speaking, then we have to get a translator through the district to have the meeting.
Okay, interesting. And then do the parents play a big role in their kids' academics if they are in the special ed class?
Some do. Unfortunately, there's a lot of parents who don't. They send their students to school and that's it. They provide just what they need, but a lot of the times the parents themselves can't help the students at home.
Interesting. Okay. And then in terms of IEPs, 504s, and Sped classes in general, are there any additional costs that students or their families have to pay in order to be a part of a special education program?
No. Because they're offered FAPE, which is free appropriate public education. Students are given classes that they need to the best of the district's ability.
Okay, well, so it's free for them, which is awesome. And then we're going to end with asking you the two normal questions of what's the most challenging part of your job, and then after you answer that, you can tell me what's the most rewarding part of your job.
The most challenging is probably that to keep the kids motivated, because a lot of what they feel that they're doing is useless. Why do we have to learn this? Why do we have to learn algebra? Well, I'm never going to use algebra. Why do I have to learn about Romeo and Juliet? So they have a hard time just dealing with that. And then the most rewarding is when when you see that the kid actually gets what you're talking about. And you see that little light bulb go off in their head. Or you see the difference from, if you follow them from freshman year to senior year, you can see the improvement in their writing over time. That's really exciting to see.
Yeah, awesome, which probably translates into teaching in general.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. So thank you.
Okay, great.
So as we can see after the interview with Pam, she loves her job. As a special education teacher, there are hard times where she actually has to push the students, and they're just sitting there going, why am I learning? Which we see in an everyday classroom in general education as well. How am I going to apply this to my everyday life? Why does this matter? But then there are those moments where it clicks in the student's head and it just makes everything worth it, whether that's for the entire class of 30, 35, or whether that's just for one student. So overall, Pam loves her job. She works a lot with people who have disabilities in terms of learning comprehension, reading, and writing. And she does her best to include differentiated instruction, include different ways to break that down, scaffold the learning, and allow them to even move up to general education later if they can meet their IEP goals and objectives or meet their 504 goals and objectives.